try and say something of value. Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay.
Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Taravaktaya Namo Namaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So tomorrow is the Chiradahi Mahotsav, not today. So we'll look at our Fal Shruti, and we're in the second set on page 830. Jade Dvaita Gyane Haya Chite Upadaya Krishna Bhakti Chiradina Upaya Upaya.
Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected.
This is important. This is like material education. Many people think that, oh, it's very important that my kids become materially educated. Why? Prabhupada used to call it going to the slaughterhouse school. What do you learn by the association? Many times going to the schools. If you're not associating with devotees, our purpose in life, we were just saying, is to melt the heart in attraction to Krishna. And that's most easily done when you're young, just like Prahlad. If you're young and you're fortunate to be in the association of devotees, then you have every opportunity of melting the heart in affection and attraction to Krishna. But if you go to school and get fed with so many things which very often are completely false, is the world flat or is it round? Yogamaya? No, it's flat. And you were all fed from many, many generations that it was round. I mean, I can prove it to you. They had a video, and it had 19 airline pilots were questioned, is the earth round or flat? Each in their separate place. Do you have to make a nose calculation when you circle the globe? Do you have to calculate into your direction the curvature of the earth? And every single one of them, without hesitation, they all said the earth is flat. All of them. All of them. No exception, because it is flat. It's not round. But this is like education. And history, for example, is only written from the perspective of the country that you're in. It's not written out of sympathy or out of curiosity about what really happened. So most of the historical apparent facts are completely fictitious. There is so much bogus education. If you go to the Vedas, if you go to this education, if you go to Shastra, then you're going to get pure education, like traditionally in the Gurukuls. This is what they would study. So it's saying here, where is it? Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected. But because we're so attached to our conditioned selves, and my conception of myself and my identity in this world, we hold on to these materially incorrect, apparent truths. And in this particular time in history, it's quite remarkable, because many things are happening on the planet at this particular time. It's quite a fascinating time. This is the time when Mahaprabhu is really going to elevate his teachings at this time. And many false aspects of history, etc., are being smashed down and are being revealed. This is the truth of what. And then people will start to cry out for prayer to Mahaprabhu in their extreme suffering. And that's the process. To appreciate the alternative to this suffering condition is only to chant Hare Krishna and to take shelter from. How else is Krishna going to plan to get most of the conditioned souls to chant Hare Krishna? If they're all suffering like crazy and they're hungry even, and so many, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he told all of these things in his books. He said the cities will become just places of twisted metal. That's how he described it. So all this is very close happening. And the people, they will want to have shelter of pure knowledge because they will have been so much cheated. Get us some water.
Do you have food?
Yes, give us some water. Oh, you have water. Take some water. So take each description a little bit further that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us. Bring it up to speed, as they say, in the present time, and perceive the reality of it. He's not just saying historic words, or just words that are sort of cased in scripture that don't have any real living value. They have so much living value, all of these words. They are our life. Shastra is our life. Without this infusion daily, we will just wander, because there are so many different places the mind can travel to. We were just saying about the yogis, about the karmis, about all different sorts of paths that may look very attractive. And if you don't have clear shastric knowledge of this, you can easily be disturbed and distracted and not be able to take this opportunity to its maximum. To take it to its maximum, our faith has to be solid. Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Koi Sutrita Nishchoy. This Vishvasa means with confidence. Faith with confidence. Faith that you really, really know. Yes, this is the absolute reality. This is the path. I have no hesitation, no question. With confidence. Faith and confidence come together. And Sudrita, with complete nishta, with determination. This can be infused from Shastra. If we are sincere. We've been talking about the Kanishta, the Madhyam, and the Uttam. If the Kanishta on the first platform, he's looking to the Pratibimba. What is the Pratibimba?
Reflection.
Reflection, yes. A reflection of the truth is not connected to the object of the truth. If it's chaya, a shadow, it's okay. It's namabas still. It's still in progress. But nevertheless, it's connected to the object. You really do want Krishna to come into your heart. You really do want. Because the nature of the conditioned soul is to be with Krishna. So it's really being honest and truthful to ourselves. But because of the untruthfulness of this world, we tend to not even be real with ourselves. We put on acts, shows, pretense, hypocrisy, deceit. All of these things are very, 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 very common. We use them sometimes as armor against the deceit that we have to confront in the material world. And sometimes that armor becomes a part of us. You know, you think in social circles sometimes you have to behave in a certain way. So you take on these abnormal behavioral patterns, how to be polite and different things, you know, which aren't really of much value unless they're with love, unless it's Vaishnava etiquette, which is what we're learning about. But if it's just external show formality, then all that has to be dismantled to reach the heart of the truthful bhakta. You understand what I'm saying? Is it clear? Do you agree? Have to put it in different words, different times. Okay. Whereas
transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the upay, means of attainment, and the upay, goal worthy of attainment.
only this should be our focus. We have no other business. Unless Guru orders you to build a temple, you have no need to build a temple. How many temples are there in the world? We should see what goes on inside the temple is more important. There's an expression in English, we say form or function. The function is what goes on inside. The form is the outside. Which is more important?
Substance.
Huh?
Substance.
Function. Function is much more important than form. And similarly with our bodies, this is a form. Now what is the function is the most important thing. Is the traveling towards Krishna. We want that arrow of modern Mohan Cupid to pierce the heart, to bring out the beautiful flavor and sweetness of Vrindavan Dham. Mahaprabhu has this potency that he wants to give us this, he urgently wants to give us this. But we're dodging this way, this way, this way, hiding. You know, we all do. It's like I said at the beginning, it's a subtle journey. It's higher than the subtle. Actually, the subtle body has to be relinquished. At the time of death, the subtle body goes into another body. The subtle impressions, the sanskars and sukriti that we picked up in this birth will go like the aroma of a flower moving through the atmosphere into another body. But this subtle body also has to be collapsed. And that when that subtle, only then will actually true liberation manifest. And then what is beyond liberation has to be considered. We have three paths in the world that Jaiva Dharma talks about. Bhukti, Mukti and Bhakti. And everybody in existence is following one of these three paths. I made that little book, Beyond Liberation. It's about these three paths. Everyone is following one of those paths. They're either looking for material pleasure, or they're looking for mukti, or they're looking for bhakti. Three paths. Bhaktivinoda Thakur delineates it beautifully. So every day we should consider closely, am I treading the path of devotion? Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tattvadaha. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, only by devotion can I be attained. Nothing else. Nothing else. He doesn't say this tapasya, yogi, yoga, any of these other things, karma. Nothing else will please Krishna. Nothing else will please us. We won't be satisfied with that either. You might go through 20 years on a distracted path, like Sannyasi Thakur in the very beginning. He was so many years, right, as a Brahmagyani, but no juice was coming in, and then he just saw that Vaishnava weeping in kirtan, and immediately he could see this Vaishnava is having more ecstasy than I've even imagined. He could see direct. That's the turning point for him. That was the crucial key when he had that association. But he couldn't approach that Vaishnava because he had such a strong material identity at the time. He was a sannyasi in the Brahmavad line, and he couldn't get over that just to go and speak to that Vaishnava. But eventually he wandered around and came into Vrindavan. Now this is Vaishnava Das that we're hearing speak these truths. So always stay close to the heart of the spiritual masters and our Guru Vargya's essence, starting from Rupa Goswami. They're carrying the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very simple, but it's very difficult sometimes with our false egos to accept, first of all, Sharanagati. And then Sharanagati, we understand, is just the gateway. It's like the doorway to Bhakti. It's not Bhakti itself. Sharanagati isn't Bhakti. It's the gateway, the threshold. Bhagavad Gita takes us up to the threshold of bhakti. It doesn't give us bhakti. The commentators within the Bhagavad Gita will inspire us towards bhakti, but the actual precepts of the Bhagavad Gita, they just bring us to the threshold, because it's all about my surrender. Sarva dharma parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tam sarve pyapapyo moksha ishman yami masuchaha. I'm thinking about myself and surrender. I'm not thinking about Krishna and how can I please, serve, satisfy him. Understand? Jiva kabo jade nai, hari kabo nai, hari sahaj eva chintya beda beda mai.
The jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he kevala advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari.
You might get distracted by this is another part, this oneness of Brahman. And it's so easy for us, I've said before, we have just come from the Brahman, not so long ago. That's where we originate. Baladev Prabhu, he makes 3 types of jivas, one in Goloka Vrindavan, one in Vaikuntha, and the other coming from the Brahmajyoti, from the Tatashta. They are made of Tatashta. They don't come from Tatashta, they're made of Tatashta. That's their consciousness, marginal. So these 3 types of jivas, and we've just come from that Brahmajyoti into the body of Mahavishnu, and then we've been plunged into this material world with the absolute greed to enjoy. That's why we've come here. We had that momentary decision when we had an opportunity to go back to the spiritual world in our proper position. But instead, the glitter of Maya was more attractive to us then. The problem is that now it's still more attractive, even though we have some knowledge. This was not a historic decision. It's a decision that we make 200 times a day. Do I want to look to Krishna? Do I want to look to Maya? Before you go to sleep tonight, how many times will you make this choice? It wasn't a historic choice. It's a choice that's going on and on repeatedly. This is the truth. So this Brahman consciousness we have been in before. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati talks about it as being Shantaras. You've read that. Acquired nature. Beautiful essay. Before this acquired nature. This essay is on my website. You should read it. And we were in the Brahmajyoti. So we've had an impression of that. So it's somewhat familiar with our consciousnesses. So it's very easy to turn in that direction. It's so easy. We need, if you're in Goradam, you've got the Yogpit here, you've got Srivas Angam here, you've got Nrsingadev here, you've got Harihara Ketra here, you've got Goldaram Dweep right here where we are. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the huge shining luminary. He gave the whole of the Gaudiya Siddhanta to us, you know. It was originated right here in this spot. He has arranged for us to come together each night and talk this Jaiva Dharma. You know, I haven't made a lot of effort. He's just done it. He's done everything. He called me, come here. And then he arranged for you all to come here somehow or other. And here. And now even Lalita Priya comes and takes it out to the world also. So this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire. So this is the living reality of where we are now today. I wanted to say this one thing. So from the Brahmajyoti we came here, but more jivas go there. We should know this. More jivas take the right road and go back to their original constitutional position. Much less jivas actually enter into this material world. It's not that all jivas from there come here, not at all. Most, because in that place, it's a neutral zone. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na Sochati na Kanchati. Completely, there's no problem. Shantaras. And on one side is like a flavor, like perhaps some sound vibration of Vedic hymns chanting. There's a mood of Krishna is in that direction. And most jivas go that way. But those jivas who have so much material desire, are attracted so much to the glitter of Maya, being like God. Because this is what Maya Devi promises you. If you come in here, you can be like God. You can enjoy. You can be under the illusion and impression that you're enjoying. You can enjoy fasting.
No, that's not.
You can enjoy just eating peanuts. I mean, you can enjoy all kinds of things. Anytime the enjoying spirit rises, which is separate from service to Krishna, you should know that is Maya Devi. You can enjoy riding on your bicycle. But if you're riding on your bicycle to do seva, then it has some purpose. But if you're just riding because you're enjoying the air and the atmosphere, etc., this is a mood of pleasure for me, for my body. It's so thick and deep.
Can it be with Krishna Katha also?
Huh?
Can it be with Krishna Katha also?
If you are like Pratibimba, if you want to use that Krishna Katha to forward your own agenda, minus is the cause of bondage, and not minus is the phrase of liberation. So if I'm listening to Harikatha and I'm enjoying Harikatha, then I'm properly situated. But if I'm enjoying it for any other, or I'm listening to it for any other reason, how many devotees come and listen to Harikatha over the years and go away again? You know, therefore what was their particular motivation? There was something else going on. They probably wanted liberation. Everybody wants liberation. That's why they come to devotional service to begin with, because they're unhappy. And they're just thinking, I want to get free from my happiness. You're being pricked by a pin of the material energy, and you want to get free from that. So here, I'll try this, just to get free from the pushings. Not to get Krishna. That wasn't the idea. If you read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami really carefully, in the first almost a quarter of that book, he's talking about the taste of being liberated. And then afterwards, he talks about the taste of service to Krishna. It changes very subtly. We go from this desire for liberation to the desire to service. But we're born with these conditioned minds. We have no choice in it, you know. We have to dismantle a lot of stuff. And we've each got buckets of stuff. I mean, each mind is like, you know, a huge universe, isn't it? So we have loads of stuff to kind of purify. But it can all be done very, very quickly. We can short-circuit the whole thing if we're honest, if we're truthful to ourselves. If we're really truthful to ourselves, we'll know that my real self only wants Krishna, because that's the constitution of all jivas. But if we're untruthful and we have some other motivation to be the best, to be this, to be that, to be some type of actor on the stage, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati calls it, everyone is frantically acting on the stage of life. Oh, dancing on the stage of their karmas. This is how he words it. So beautiful. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could cut through this. So meditation is really required, you know, to all these phrases that Bhakti Vinod Thakur is saying. Did you finish that?
The jiva is inconceivably different and non-different from Hari.
Yes, this is the Chintya Bheda Vedanta. This is the philosophy that our Supreme Master Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us. This philosophy was not understood before Mahaprabhu. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, Nimbaditya, Vallabha, none of them, they were thinking what? Vastu Parinamvad. They were thinking that Krishna's energy is transforming. And Mahaprabhu was saying no. Actually, it's Shakti Parinam. It's Shakti Devi that is manifesting this world. And all of them, if you read Madhvacharya, if you read all these personal, they're all discussing the nature of the distinction between the soul and Krishna, the Jiva and Krishna. And they're all trying to work out, am I Krishna? Am I not Krishna? Am I part of Krishna? What? And Mahaprabhu reconciles it. You are Krishna, at the same time you're not. You have a particle in you, just like a particle of the sun is actually the same as the sun in one sense, but it's not the sun because it's very atomic. The sun is like vibhuchit, enormous, and the jiva is anuchit, tiny. Just like you take a spoonful of water from the ocean, that spoonful of water is exactly the same as the ocean, isn't it? No different. Has the same chemicals, the same constitution in it, but it's nothing like the same as the ocean because of its size, atomic size. So we're the same as that. So we're part of God, but very small. And that one part of God, as it's said in here, can ignite a whole universe with God consciousness. Just like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He came in such a short time, 10 years. So how many devotees were there? There was one gentleman who was a salesman, and he travels around the world a lot in the late 60s. And he said every time he got off a plane in New York, Paris, Rome, London, there was always devotees chanting there. So he got the impression that devotees are all over the world. It wasn't actually a big number, but the devotees, Krishna's mystical potency gave that impression. So the devotees themselves, they can magnify. Krishna can do anything. If Krishna wants to, he can just change this whole world into Krishna consciousness in a moment. But no, the spirit soul himself, because why? We have this independence. This is what is talked about in chapter 16 here. Very important. We have independence. Krishna will always respect that independence. The super soul is there, right inside of us. He can make, contact with, I told you, every single night we touch the super soul. He can actually come into our lives in a very profound way. But we have to have our independence. It's why? Why do we need independence? We are independent. Why are we independent, Yogamaya?
Because we need to make a choice to choose Krishna.
Very
Otherwise it's
good.
forced.
Well done. Spot on. How can you love without being independent? It has to be your choice to love. Very good. Where did you learn that?
I can't remember where, but definitely read it somewhere.
But very good. That's perfect. We have to be independent to love. If you don't have independence, you can't put some dust on everyone and say, right now you all love. That's not going to be satisfying. You have to personally come to your own conclusion about how beautiful Krishna is. And that beauty in Krishna, only you will perceive. No one else will perceive the same mood as you personally have. Each individual jiva has a particular individual rasa with Krishna that no one else has. And Krishna wants to taste that ras. If you look at all the people in this room, how individual are they all? They're completely different. Everyone is totally different. Completely different. Different planets. And each has a different mood towards Krishna. And that independence has to be there for that to come out. Understand? You're not the same as a Chuta at all. You might look the same with the same color or tilak or something and hair on the head. But what the heart and the mind, what's going on in your consciousness is nothing like what's going on. He comes from Belarus. He's got a whole background of other stuff, You come from Mysore. You have a whole other background of that. It completely... What to speak of Lalita Priya? She's just like someone extraordinary. But everybody, completely individual. It's true, isn't it? I mean, these are truths that we're talking about. When we start to wave a flag for the truth, it becomes so exciting because something very powerful starts to actually manifest when it's the truth. So all these other rubbish, garbage stuff about education we just described, who is the education being done by? Half the time they're drunks, they're womanizers, they're all kinds of, these professors. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I was listening to him the other day, he's talking about one Russian professor that he met in Moscow. And, what was it? At the end of their conversation, he was saying, this professor, well, there is no God anyway. So they're actually being taught by atheists. So what sort of indoctrination are the kids going to get? If the kids are homeschooled by devotees, they have a chance to breathe and to actually get on track. Anyway, that's another topic. Deha kava Krishna nai, dara bhogya nai, dasa bhogya jiva Krishna prabhu bhakta hai.
The material body should never be considered to be the jiva. And this
What a statement! Have we even come off this platform yet? So we have a long way to go. So we have a lot of work to do. So we don't have a minute to waste in the rest of this life. There's so many books and directions by the sadhus and sages to follow. We don't have time for nonsense or something distracting from this.
And this earth is not for the jiva to exploit and enjoy.
It's not flat either. I mean, it's not round.
The jiva's swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Whereas Shri Krishna's swarup is Prabhu, Master, and Bhokta, the enjoyer.
We tend to hesitate when we think that only Krishna is going to get the pleasure, because by nature we are full of bliss. It's our nature. If we're not getting bliss from serving Krishna, we have to look in the material world to find some bliss. We have to, because we have to enjoy. But when we hear that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, it can be disheartening unless you want to come to Krishna. We can start to think, well, I'm not going to enjoy anymore. But you can't serve Krishna without the greatest pleasure. Krishna will immediately give us the greatest pleasure. That's why people hesitate, because they think I'm going to lose my enjoy. We're getting some tiny, tiny fraction. Jada, this Anand, Jada Anand, this dull pleasure from some things in this material world. And we don't want to give that up. Even sleep, eating. So it's a journey. Okay. Jaiva Dharma nahi ache deha dharma kata, nahi ache jiva gyan maya vada prata.
This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavada doctrine of the jiva's oneness with Brahma.
Very good. Okay, I think I've said enough. We should read Jaiva Dharma. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it much, much better. Okay, where are we up to? I've got page 181. Gokul. Lalita Priya, do you know where we're up to? Where did we come to last time? Oh, we're talking about Nityananda, and he's revealed his story, and Vaishnava Das has said he thinks he's a Madhyam, and talking about Nityananda has some desire for honor, and Babaji, this is Vaishnava Babaji, saying he has to give this mood of pratishta up, and he's asking for his mercy, and then he takes his dust from his feet, and he sits beside him, and they all start weeping. And now we're coming into another subject matter, basically. From the top of page 181. Babaji, the two primary characteristics of a Kanishta Vaishnava are his faith in the eternal form of Bhagavan and his worship of the deity. His secondary characteristics are the devotional activities that he performs, such as hearing, chanting, remembering, and offering prayers. So there we've got it in a capsule. What is the Kanishta? He has faith, he worships the deity, and he follows Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Nityananda Das. One cannot be a Vaishnava unless he has faith in the eternal form of Bhagavan and worships the deity according to the regulations of Shastra. He's repeating back what he's heard. So I can well understand why these two are primary symptoms. However, I cannot understand why hearing, chanting, remembering, and other such activities are secondary. Good question. Babaji, the Kanishta Vaishnava is not acquainted with the intrinsic nature of Shuddha Bhakti. He hasn't come into that heart region yet, of which hearing, chanting, and so on are angas, limbs. Consequently, his hearing and chanting do not assume their primary identity, but are manifest as a guna, secondary form. Furthermore, whatever arises from the three gunas, sattva, goodness, raja, passion, and tama, ignorance, is known as guna. So he's influenced, the Kanishta is influenced, his hearing, chanting, and remembering is influenced by the three modes of material nature very strongly. And he hasn't understood the connection with the hearing and chanting sufficiently with Thakurji. He's not really understanding that Krishna is like alive and present. He's thinking he's just in the deity form and I'm performing some type of ritualistic worship. I know many people, even here in Godrum, the local people, and they come and tell me, oh, I chanted some rounds today, I read some Bhagavat today, I went to this temple today, I did this. And they say it very proudly, like they're doing their regulation, but nothing seems to be really penetrating. They haven't sort of connected the reality through the mercy of Mahaprabhu. If you're hearing about Mahaprabhu and the urgency of what he wants to give and realizing the truth of it, it's just ritual, it's just formality. And it's okay, it's a certain stage, it's a level. Perhaps in the next life they'll come to another level like that. But these rituals, like the Smarta Brahmanas, they perform like this also. And the Pandits even, the Gyanis, they perform like this also. They're just doing ritualistic traditional steps. Do you understand what we're saying? When these activities become nirgun, free from the influence of the material modes, they are angas of Shuddha Bhakti, and one has attained the Madhyam stage. Very beautifully explained. Very beautifully explained. One become free from these pushings of the gunas. Now we have to take the microscope out and examine the influence the gunas are having on us individually. Not try to point out what they're having on other people, but what are they having on me? You know, it's all very well to start talking about other people, but what are they having on effect on me? Nityananda.
What does he mean by nirguna? Means suppose even when we are not feeling like doing.
Yeah, you're under the modes.
No, what is to do it under nirguna?
Huh?
How do we do it under nirguna? Practical example.
You don't submit to ignorant talks. You don't submit in yourself to a mode of passion. We should know when is passion. There's a story, an interesting story, when back in the 70s when they were building the Rath carts, there was one devotee called what was his name? Jayananda. They were working on the Rath carts, and he was trying to cut a pipe, and then he just got really angry with it and tried to cut it strongly and did a big cut in his hand. Then immediately he called all the devotees and said, look, this is called the mode of passion. You know, he went into that mood of giving in. The passions are in the body. If you allow them to come out at different times in the form of irritation or sleeping too long or crazy behavior or something like this, if you allow these uncontrolled moods just to come out, then this is going to take you off the Nirgun platform. But if you're carefully progressing, carefully not allowing your consciousness to go over the edge, so to speak, then you can remain. By the mercy of our Guru Vargya, by the mercy of the holy name, the mercy of the Dharma, we can, don't think it's our mercy or my greatness that I'm able to do this. It's only the greatness of Nityananda Prabhu, the greatness of Mahaprabhu, that I'm able to do that. You understand? Something. Nityananda does. How can the Kanishta Vaishnava be called a bhakta when he is contaminated with the faults of karma and jnana, and his heart is filled with desires for things other than bhakti? Okay, interesting question. One becomes eligible for bhakti once he has attained shraddha, which is the root of bhakti. There is no doubt, then, that he is situated at the doorway of bhakti. This is what we were just saying about Bhagavad Gita coming to the threshold. Sharanagati, shraddha, is the threshold. The word shraddha means vishwas, belief. When the Kanishta Bhakta awakens belief in the divine deity, he becomes eligible for bhakti. What does bhakti mean? Bhakti means service. It comes from the root bhaje, to serve. It means to serve the Supreme with the heart, not with any other motivation, not with any other desire other than to please. If I really want to serve you, I have to get to know you. What do you like? Do you like it like this? Do you like it like that? How do you like this? If I want to give you something, I have to know what are your moods, what do you like. I have to think about you. So if I want to serve Krishna, I have to think about him. And how do I think about him? Through Guru. Because Guru is the manifestation of that. It's the entranceway. That's the fact. If I'm pleasing Guru, everything's successful. Babaji, I read that. When the Kanishta Bhakta awakens, Nityananda Das, when will he attain bhakti? Babaji, the Kanishta Bhakta becomes a Shuddha Bhakta at the Madhyam level when his contamination of karma and jnana are dissipated and he desires nothing other than ananya bhakti, exclusive bhakti. At that point he understands that there is a difference between service to guests and service to bhaktas, and thus he awakens taste for serving the bhaktas, which is favorable to bhakti. Krishna loves his bhaktas more than he loves the general conditioned soul in the street. We may serve so many Sunday feasts and give them prasadam, trying to bring them and purify them. But the relationship between the bhakta and Krishna we should honor the most. It's like a man who has many sons, but he loves the son who serves him the best. He loves all the sons. Krishna loves all the conditioned souls. You understand? Nityananda Das. Shuddha Bhakti appears along with Sambandha Jnana. When is that knowledge awakened by which one becomes eligible for Shuddha Bhakti? So Sambandha Jnana again is being spoken. These first 10, 12 chapters I've told you before are principally just focusing on Sambandha Jnana. That's what the first 10 chapters are around. True Sambandha Jnana and Shuddha Bhakti are manifest simultaneously when knowledge contaminated by Mayavad conception has been dispelled. So we should understand that this Mayavad is like almost a part of ourselves, because we were in that place. If you read in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he so many times is talking about the Mayavad, the Mayavad, the Mayavad. When I first read this, I think, who are all these Mayavads? It was only after some time I realized, me. He's talking about me all the time. I am the Mayavad because I don't have that complete, absolute faith that the Madhyam has. This is the Kanishta's faith, very flaky, not strong. Nityananda Das. How long does that take, Babaji? The stronger a person's sukriti from past activities, the sooner he will attain it. My Gurudev used to say this all the time. He was asked the same question. You know, because some people will join Krishna consciousness and they're on like a rocket. You know, from the very beginning they just never look back. Because we should understand from that, their sukritis from their previous birth have carried right over. And they're able to actually accept and understand and realize a lot of these facts. Others have no sukriti. They're getting sukriti in this birth from Guru, from the holy Dharma, from chanting, etc.
How it appears that we take birth in not devotee family? If we have Sukriti from previous life, and definitely we have.
They also have in a non-devotee family, if I understand you correctly, in a non-devotee family, then they don't have any Sukriti for devotion. Right? That's why they're non-devotees.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get woken up, there might be some dormant Sukriti there that has gone to sleep, that will wake up. They might have the potential there. Sometimes it can be covered in a non-devotee family. You might go to a non-devotee family, you might speak to them about Bhagavad Gita, and maybe some of the children, or the husband or the wife, will suddenly take to it very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can understand with their previous birth, had they had some Sukriti.
Question: why I take birth in not devotee family?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah, why you take birth in a non-devotee family?
If Sukriti is for sure.
Yes. Not much Sukriti. Me also. None. I don't think I was born in a demon family, complete demon. You know, until I met the devotees. And then I started to absorb gradually. Perhaps in some distant life, there was some Sukriti there that allowed me to come now. I don't know these things. I mean, you know. But we should understand. In the end of chapter 28, by the way, it talks about Gada Sanskars. Very interesting part. It's at the very end of chapter 28. Gada Sanskars are these eternal sanskars. It talks about two types of sanskars. One is called praktana. Praktana means ancient sanskar, from previous births. And then there's adunika sanskars, which means from this birth. So you're also picking up a lot of Sukriti and sanskars from this birth. Every time you go to the yog pit, every time you just ride past the yog pit, you're getting boom, boom, boom. You know, it's building. We should be Sukriti hungry. And we can build these Sukritis very rapidly if we're smart and focused. And we know what is the benefit of these Sukritis. You will feel inspired to chant. You will feel inspired to read. You will feel inspired to pray. This will be the result of those Sukritis now. Isn't it? To stay in the holy Dharma. I think it's important to stay in the holy Dharma. Because there's so much Sukriti to be gained. Because we need. I'm Sukriti hungry. I want Sukriti. Too much. I do anything for it. Whatever I can get. It's like mercy. You want mercy. You know? Just to know that you want mercy is good. Some unfortunate people don't even know they want mercy. They're just going along and they don't. Anyway. The stronger a person's Sukriti from past activities, the sooner he will attain it. Nityananda Das. What is the first result attained by past Sukriti? That's interesting, it's like your question. Babaji, one attains Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is going to give us the most boost of Sukriti. If you meet a pure sadhu in your life, then this Sukriti will come very, very rapidly. If you met Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, you met my Gurudev, then very much Sukriti will come from that, because they are radiating these atoms of potency. And if you catch that, then that is the greatest Sukriti. But just being in the Dharma also, because there are so many people living in the Dharma that we don't really realize are pure devotees. There might be some old lady flower, like there's a lady in that Swananda Sukara Kunj, makes the garlands. They call her Bunima, which means old lady. I call her Sadhuma, which means a sadhu lady. She's been making those garlands for more than 40 years. 40 years she's been making those garlands for Gaura Gadadhar. She's a sweet, sweet old lady. She's not going to be around much longer. She had 2 shots boosted. I don't know how she's even living, you know? Really? Anyway. But if you see her, she loves money. If you see her and you give her 10, 20 rupees, she'll grab it very quickly. That's not a sign of materialist. I think she has some grandchildren and people like this, you know? She likes to give to her family. And she's also got medical bills to pay and so on. Every bone in her body is aching, she told me one time. I said, how are you? She said, oh, so many rogues, so many diseases. She goes to the doctor, she gets a list of 20 things wrong with the body. This organ wrong, that one, that. She's about 82, 83 something. Anyway, sadhuma. One attains sadhusanga, Nityananda does. And what is the progression that evolves from sadhusanga? Babaji, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25 describes the systematic evolution of bhakti very succinctly. Satam prasangam mama vira samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasanya kata tajjosavasa avavarga vartmani shraddha rati bhakti anukramishyati. This is the kram. Shraddha, rati, then bhakti. This is the path. In the association of Shuddha Bhaktas, the recitation and discussion of my glorious activities and pastimes are pleasing to both the heart and the ears. We should just sit more of the time and talk about Krishna and Radha and Jaiva Dharma and all these things, because this is what's going to be pleasing to the soul. The soul is always pleased in the company of Vaishnavas. Maybe the mind is restless, but the soul is pleased. And it's this discussion collectively that is most helpful. In the association of Shuddha Bhaktas, the recitation and discussion of my glorious activities and pastimes are pleasing to both the heart and the ears. By cultivating knowledge in this way, one becomes established on the path of liberation and progressively attains Shraddha, then Bhav, and finally Prema Bhakti. So just a couple of minutes more. How does one attain Sadhusanga? Babaji, I have already said that Sadhusanga is attained by Sukriti acquired in previous births. So we had some Sukriti, Lalita Priya. We had some Sukriti. We had enough Sukriti to come to the Vaishnavas. So we were born with that. So for that we're grateful. But whether we have a lot or a little, but we want more. And we can acquire that now. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.51-53. Bhava pavargo brahmato yad bhavaj janasya tarya achutya sat samagrama gama sat sangamo yari tadaiva sad gato paravash varesh tvai jayate rati. O Achyuta, the jiva has been wandering in the cycle of birth and death since time without beginning. When the time for his release from this cycle approaches, he obtains sadhusanga. Maybe the time for our release is approaching. We're having some association of the holy Dharma. From that moment, he becomes firmly attached to you, who are the controller of both spirit and matter, and the supreme goal of attainment for the sadhus. Let's leave it there. 6 o'clock? Yes? Okay. So it carries on. Very exciting part of Jaiva Dharma. Very wonderful questions. Very wonderful questions. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for listening. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha.
Sanjay Maharaj ki jai.
Vaishnavas ki jai.